Hi there, this is Art and Such with my Rainbow Loom tutorial for Shira from the old cartoons. For this pattern, you're going to need some skin tone bands, some gold, some white, some yellow, and red. And you can use beads or bands for the eyes, which I made blue, the tiara's jewel, which I made red, and the center jewel, which I made green. And I think I'm going to use bands this time, but I can show you how you'd go about using the beads if that's of interest to you as well. The only other thing I want to mention before we start is I didn't put the gold Breastplate Shield edition. I tried to add it in a couple of different ways, and I felt like it kind of just lumped on and looked like, it just made it look like she was very large up top. So if you want to try to do a side extension there or weave it on after, I did experiment a little, but it wasn't coming out right. So that's the one detail I haven't that I haven't kept consistent as I could there. All right, so you're going to want a holding hook, and you are going to need a loom for parts of this project. Just a 3-row loom is good, and I've got mine in the offset configuration. And you'll also be wanting a couple of C-clips. So we are going to start with the boots, and I'm going to take a single gold and wrap it 1, 2, 3 times onto my hook. You can do 4 if you want it a little tighter. Grab another gold, stretch it, twist it, bring it back onto itself. So this is a doubled over single. It's going to be really tight. Put it on the end of your hook and slide your first wrapped piece over, and then you can replace that. We're going to do this a second time here. So a single wrapped 1, 2, 3 times, pulled onto a doubled over single, and this time I'm going to do a second doubled over single. So another band, stretch, twist, bring it back onto itself, and then pull on top. So we have 2 little chains here. This one has 1 wrapped over, 1 doubled over. This one has 1 wrapped over, a doubled over, and a second doubled over. You can bring these closer together, and we'll take a single gold, stretch it, twist it, double it over, slide both on top. And this is going to make for the kind of heel and toe of her boot. If you're feeling like this is too complicated, you can stick with a couple, 1 or 2 bands wrapped, and then pull onto 2 bands or a doubled over single. This gives it the nice pointy look there. And now I'm going to take 2 gold bands, put them on the end of the hook and slide through, and repeat that with another 2 sets of 2. Okay, so that's our boot. We're going to continue on the same stretch here, but switch to skin tone. You're going to need 7 sets of double or 2 bands. So not doubled over, just double. We're going to take 2, pull it on and through, and repeat that another 6 times. So second set, third set, fourth set, fifth set, sixth set, and 1 more for 7. Now if you have a second holding hook that you want to place this on, you can. I prefer to just slide it out of the way down the hook. This can fit quite a lot. So I'm going to start on my second boot. I'll go a little bit faster this time, but we're doing the same thing, so if you need to go back and check, you can. Single wrapped 3 times on a doubled over single. And we'll do that again. A single wrapped 3 times, pull it onto a doubled over single, pull that onto another doubled over single, take both parts, put them onto a doubled over single, And then we've got our 3 sets of double gold. And 7 sets of double skin tone. And one more, and one reason that I do find it's convenient to keep my limbs, my pieces on the same hook, is that now I can line them right up and I can see that they come to the same level. So if there was any doubt that I had miscounted, I can check it that way very easily. Okay, the arms, you can take 1 or 2 skin tone bands. I'm taking 2 here. Wrap them 1, 2, 3 times around your hook. Put it onto a doubled over single skin tone. So stretch, twist, bring it over itself, and replace. And then we're going to switch to gold, and a single doubled over gold, stretch, twist, bring it onto itself. This will make it nice and tight at the wrist. And then 2 sets of 2 gold. So 2, bring it through, and 2, bring it through. And we're going back to skin tone after that for 4 sets of double bands. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll make our second arm. That was 2 skin tones wrapped. 1, 2, 3, or 4 times onto a doubled over single skin tone. I hate stretching out my skin tones because some of these I'm going to try and use again later probably, but oh, I feel like I've lost one there. Let's try that again. Okay, skin tone, and then onto our gold doubled over single. 2 sets of double, and 4 sets of skin tone, 2 at a time. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, I believe we are ready to go to the loom, so you can set these aside for the moment. And I'm gonna get my loom so that the open part is pointing down or away from me. You might be looking at it top to bottom, that's fine too. And let me grab my pattern here. So, oops. We are going to start with 2 skin tone from the top center to the second peg down in the center. And we'll have 2 skin tone coming from the second center to the second right, and reflect that on the opposite side, like so. And on each of the rows or columns, we're going to put 1 set of double skin tone from the second peg down to the third peg down. Like so. At any point now you can add your arms onto the second pegs down. Come back to that in a little bit. I'm going to keep going here. On the next pegs down, we're going to use white. I'm going to put 2 in the middle, and on either side from the third to the fourth. You can choose if you want a more pronounced bust area. You can increase the number. I used, and I'm going to use 6. If you feel like that is too much or you want to save your bands, you can stay with 2 or use 4. And if you want it really pronounced, you could use 8, but that sometimes becomes a little less controllable. It's a little easier to miss one, and you might find it's too bulky for your liking. But that's for you to decide. So I've put 6 down there. These are all white. And we're going to continue with white 2 times in the middle, using 2 bands each. So 4th to 5th and 5th to 6th. And on either side, I'm going to come down one more time with, oh, you know what, I might change my mind on that. One more time with double white. I'm taking off 1 set from the center because I think I'm going to change this one to gold so that the belt has more continuity. So from your 5th center peg to your 6th, you can use a doubled over single gold, or you can use 2 white. I am going to use gold this time so that it's more central and lined up. Otherwise, this is the effect you will get. On each row now, 1 doubled over single gold. So let me put those on and I will show you what that looks like. Okay, this is what I've got now. And 1, 2, 3 sets more of double white on either side. And I'm just going to double check the count in the middle. And it looks like 2 more sets of double white in the middle. It's gonna finish 1 peg. Well, it will look like it's 1 peg higher than on the either side, and that's because we started this one with the middle row, like sitting higher up. Okay, we can add our arms now. If you haven't yet, you're gonna take the open, like the loops on your hook. Carefully push all of those down onto your 2nd peg on the side. You can repeat that on the other side. It shouldn't make very much difference which arm goes on which side or which way it's facing. I wouldn't expect these to curl all that much on you. We're going to take 2 white bands, put them through the bands on your hook where the legs are, slide both your legs on, and stretch it across from your, this is the 5th peg up from the bottom of the loom. So it's where we ended the last one with the white. And get between those, bring the band that the legs are on over the center peg at the same distance from the top. So it should look something like that. Now we're going to need some holding bands, and the top 3 are going to be doubled over single white. So stretch, twist, bring it over itself, and this will go across your 3rd pegs from the top. It's going to make a little triangle there, and we'll repeat that twice underneath. We want it a little tighter on the top so that the chest area doesn't bulge out and is proportionate to the bottom. It's also going to tighten up the waist a little bit right underneath. And the rest of our holding bands are going to be just singles, so take a white band. And now we are onto the 6th pegs from the bottom. I'm going to take my single and just stretch it across without twisting it over. I guess I should also mention, if you feel like this is going to be too much tension to work with, you could use 2 bands together there or a single untwisted, but bear in mind it will be a little less snug. Okay, so you will have 6 holding bands. The top 3 are going to be doubled over, the bottom 3 can be single. And I'm talking slowly here because I want to make sure I'm catching everything as we go. We're going to make a side extension or a chain so that the skirt billows out a little bit. And that will require white bands. We're going to take a single, wrap it 1, 2, 3 times, and we'll make a chain using 4 sets of double bands. So take 2 bands and put them on, and replace. Take another 2 bands, another 2, and 1 more set makes 4. These are gonna sit on, okay, so we're gonna take the bands on the peg, and they're gonna sit on your 6th peg down where the gold ended on the side. And what we'll be doing is stretching this whole piece over and down. I'm gonna turn this around so that I can reach it while I show you. And for each link in the chain, so this is the next set of circles, I'm gonna take 1 piece and pull it over the peg below. Take 1 piece out of the next one, put it over, I kinda want this one, put it over the next peg, and there should be 1 more chain before the finish, and we'll put that over the last one. And this is going to spring up a little bit, but that's okay. It will settle itself back into place once the rest of this has been looped and kind of squishes itself back a little. Other side, wrap 1 3 times, put onto 4 sets of double white. So same thing exactly. We're going to place it in the same on the same pegs, just on the opposite side. Once more, link in 1 piece from each chain so that it stays nice and tight against the body. And there. Alright, I do believe that's everything we need for before we loop up our body, so I'll give you one more look. And you can decide whether you start in the middle or on the sides. I think I'm gonna begin on the middle, just because it's a little bit easier. So we'll go to the 9th peg down, I believe that is, the one where the legs are sitting, and we're grabbing the bottom 2 white bands and bring them up and over, make the teardrop shape, reach in, up and over, grab my doubled over single gold, so that's 2 loops of the same band, bring that onto the next peg. And I'm going to go up until I get to the 2nd peg from the top. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to stop there. And the reason is I want to loop up my sides before I bring them all up to the very top. Now the sides are a tiny bit more challenging because we have more bands, we have extensions, and we have, at least in my case, some added bands here. So what we're doing is we are trying to get the bands, which have been laid on from the peg above. So they will be at the bottom, and they're kind of going to loop around. If it helps, you can use your hook or your hands and stretch them out. But these are the ones right at the bottom that I want. So I'm going to pull those to the side. I'm putting my hook in with the open part facing up, and I'm going to push back the extension and the holding bands and grab the bottom 2 and bring those around and onto the next peg. Now I want the next 2 that are closest to the bottom, and again they're going to be kind of loose there, they won't be pulled across any other pegs, and I'm reaching in and bringing those forward. Push back your holding bands and get your bottom 2. Push back and get your doubled over single gold. Push back for your bottom white. And on this next one, if you did use your 6 whites, you can take them up a couple at a time. Once more, you'll push back the holding band. That's the only one that should be in your way. And you can grab them a couple at a time or all together if you're feeling brave. Just do it carefully. And either way, you do want to make sure that all of these go on. Okay. Push back the holding band, get your bottom 2 skin tone. It's going to be a little tight there. And then the last two to loop are the skin tone, the bottom skin tone, which are coming down diagonally from the top second peg. So reach into the arm and grab the two that are at the bottom, bring those into the middle, and then stop there. We're going to loop up the other side in the same way. If you feel like this is getting a little tight, you can start popping off some of the bands on the side that you've looped, because it is secured all the way up in the middle and, in my case, on the left. Just don't lose the ones on the top there. Okay, I might turn this to the side a little bit just to get a better angle, but I'm following the same procedure as before. We're pushing back holding bands and extensions and taking bottom two bands until we get to the gold. Then you're taking the bottom doubled over single, another bottom two. I've got my 6 here. Just make sure you're getting them from under the holding band. So it's a little more awkward on this side. And I see I've got one that's trying to come off. And my hook is stuck in there too. Okay, there. Go back in for the bottom two pink. And through the armpit there, bottom two pink, and bring it over. And this is roughly what it should look like. So if you look at the side, everything should be kind of caught in. You don't want to see anything loose underneath. That would probably indicate that you missed one. You want it to be nice and tightly cinched in. Okay, we're gonna go into the second peg down, reach through until you find the bottom two, and bring those onto the top center peg. Okay, now I'm gonna take a single, did I use a single or double? Looks like a single gold, wrap it twice on my hook, and I'm gonna put that through the bands on the top center peg, my hook that is, and then you can start easing this off of the loom. Now if you need your hook to take it off, you can put this onto a C-clip for the moment, or I'm going to do this in the most awkward way possible, or grab another hook, or use your fingers to hold it until you've got more of this released. Yeah, okay. You could also release more of this. You know, maybe that's what I'll do. Okay, here's the other thing we could do. I'm just going to put these back on a nearby peg for the moment, and this is probably what I should have done in the first place, and this is probably what I did the first time around too. Okay, there, I just put my neck pieces down, so I'm going to loosen some of the rest off, and then I'll grab it. I just don't want to let go of that until everything else is off of here. Sorry, my hand is in the way. I'm just making sure I've got a good hold on this. Okay, so now that it's loosened up, I've got my my doubled single. I pull it through, and then I'm going to take that gold and bring it over the skin tone, over the end of the hook, and then we've got our pretty little neck piece there. Okay, this can stay where it is or go onto a holding band, and you can decide if there's a side you prefer for the front or the back. I feel like these are pretty comparable, and I see I have a couple of looser white bands, but I'm gonna tug those in a bit at the end. Okay, so just so you can compare, that's the belt with the gold up top, and that's the belt with the white up top. Alright, we are ready to go to the loom now. You're gonna need yellow for the hair. I'm using this, what would this be considered? It isn't like the transparent, it's the kind of bolder yellow. We'll do 2 from the top center to the top right, 2 top center to the top left, and I went down twice on each of the rows with double yellows, so 2 at a time. If you want a little less hair at the top, you could do it once, but I felt this was an okay amount myself. These ones are so springy. Okay. And from, oh, okay, this we got to do a certain way. Okay. We're going to take a gold band or 2 gold bands. Hold on. 1 gold band, it looks like. I'm actually going to take the second middle one off for just a minute. And you can use a band or a bead here. I'm going to use a band this time. I'm using red, but I'll show you what you would do with the bead very quickly. So if you have a bead and it has a larger hole, it can go right onto your hook. If you have a bead with a smaller hole, I'm just going to show you with the blue because that's probably easier to see here. What you can do is put a piece of dental floss through, or a wire or a needle and thread, and then this would go onto your gold band and back through the bead from the opposite direction. So it's looped through, it's coming back, and slide it on. So that's how you can add a bead if you want to do that for any of your jewels or for your eyes. I'm going to stick with the band this time. We'll take a single red, wrap it 1, 2, 3 times, and pull it onto a gold. I'm going to stretch this from the second peg down on one side to the second peg down on the other. And then I'll put my 2 yellows back on top of that. And the reason I'm doing it in this order is because we're looking at the back of the head now, really. Once it flips over, we want this to be in the front. Okay, the next one is going to be gold. No, it is yellow. Hold on. I was trying to see what I did here. Oh, I see. That's the extension we're looking at. Okay, so we're actually going to switch to skin tone now and come down 3 times in the middle with double skin tone bands, starting at the 3rd peg from the top. On either side, we need 2 sets of double skin tone bands. And that should take you down to your 5th peg. And then we're going to have double skin tone bands coming in from the 5th side to the 6th center, from one direction, and then again from the other direction, so they meet in the middle there. Okay, you can put on your body piece. If you have a side that you definitely want facing forward, then that's a side that will face down. But both sides should hopefully look relatively close to the same. Just trying to get this pushed down out of the way there. That's on the 6th peg down in the middle. Now for the, I don't know whether to call these horns or there's a name for these, I'm not sure. But the little side pieces on the head, we're gonna come back to gold here. And we'll take a single, wrap it 1, 2, 3 times, put it onto a doubled over single, put that onto a doubled over single, and before I put the other side on, I'm going to wrap another onto the end. 2, 3, or 4, and then replace. So I have a wrapped one in between. If that's challenging, you can replace it, wrap it, and then pull it back over. Now I'm going to take 2 golds, slide those through everything, and try and keep them in order. And before I replace, I'll wrap one more. So I've just left this open here, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, or 4 on the wrap, and replace, and onto a doubled over single. Almost done this part. This is one of the lengthier little parts to do, but we've almost got it. Actually, I shouldn't say that, we haven't started on our hair chains yet. And replace, and then 2 gold, and you can kind of see this is going to curve one way or another. So you're going to look at that while you decide which side you want it to go on, and we're going to put this one end onto the 2nd peg down on the side and one end onto the 5th peg down on the side. So let me place it on and then I'll show you what that's going to look like. I know it looks kind of funny, but it's going to again squish up and end up right there. Okay, we've got one more to do for the other side. So we'll single wrapped 1, 2, 3, or 4 times onto a doubled over single. Onto a doubled over single, but we'll leave it open for a minute while we wrap one on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Replace. Onto 2 bands. And once I get this through, we'll put another wrapped one on. I get a little nervous when my nails are long like this. It makes it easier to grab the bands, but I keep thinking I'm gonna snap right through one of them. That wouldn't be so good. Okay, one of these is not going where it should. Okay, I'm going with that. Okay, and then a single wrapped 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Replace. Almost done this part. We'll do our doubled over single. Slide them all over. One more. And replace, and then 2 bands through. This one's looking a little funny to me. I'm not sure why that is. You can see my wrapped bands are trying to kind of scoot around there in the middle. You know what? Sorry, bear with me 1 second here. I'm going to do a nicer job of this really quickly. Okay, that was our doubled over. Just take me a minute here. If you want to jump ahead, you can, but it shouldn't take me too long. Yeah, something maybe needed one more wrap. It was looking a little too loose and floppy for me here. Okay, onto our 2. Can see what happens when I start rushing here. Okay, wrapped. Return, doubled over, almost there. I'm wondering if maybe I pulled one of the wrong ones over at one point. Sometimes that does happen. There we go. Okay, last 2, finally. And I want to angle it so that the point is pointing up. So I turn this around and there we go. Okay, sorry about that. Let's do our skin tone holding bands and our yellow holding bands. So I need 1 yellow band across the 2nd pegs down from the top. I think it's going to make a little triangle there. Skin tone below, double it over and put it across the 3rd pegs down. Skip one, and we'll do that on the 5th pegs down. And then for your eyes, they're going to go on the next one. You can use the bead method again, or you can use bands. I'm going to do bands this time. So if you're going the bead route, you'll get 2 beads onto a doubled over single skin tone. If you're doing bands, you're going to take each band, wrap it 3 times onto your hook. There are my 2 eye bands, and then transfer onto the skin tone. So these could be beads or bands. You do want to have this doubled over, and we're going to put your eyes onto the 4th pegs down from the top. And get between your bands or your beads, separate out the band with the eyes on it, and pull one section of that onto the 4th peg down in the middle. Okay, I think we are ready to do our hair extensions, and then just to show you where we're going. So after the hair, we will do this part as an addition, and we'll do the cape as, sorry, this part is an addition, and we'll do the cape as one more section at the end. So we do need our hair. That's what we were doing. What I did here is I did 2 chains. So there's a longer chain and a smaller chain. You can get away with just the 1 chain, and you can make it shorter if you like. If you want the 2, I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so for the long chain, I'm going to take a single yellow, wrap it twice onto my hook, and then I'm going to make a chain with 11 double bands, so 2 bands together each time. Sounds like a lot. It goes pretty quickly. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Feel free to make it shorter if you want to. 8, 9, 10, and 11. And we want her hair to kind of billow out under the tiara, so we're going to attach this, take the bands on the hook and put those onto the 2nd peg down. And just as with the skirt chain, I'll turn this around here so you can see, 1 out of each chain onto each of the pegs below until you get to where the face ends there. Now I'm going to start another chain here, single wrapped once and twice, and I'm going to start with 4 sets of double, just to show you something here. 2, 3, and 4. Now if you want to have the 2nd set of smaller hair chains, it just thickens it out a little at the back, and you can make these longer. I've got a short one here. You can make it longer if you want, but I used 4, and all I did is I put that onto the 5th peg down, so that would go right on here. I'll show you what that looks like, and that is optional, but that will make it look a little bit thicker when she's facing forward. Okay, so that's for that effect. I'm going to leave it out this time and continue making this into the chain for the opposite side, but if you would like to have your chain of 4 or a longer one, you can certainly do that. And if you need the extra time, you can give me a pause here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, almost done. 10 and 11. Place it onto the 2nd peg down on the other side, and grab 1 piece from each chain to attach onto the pegs below. Okay, give me a second, I'll let you see what we've got here. I do believe that's everything we need in this part. Yeah. And then we can start looping. So we'll begin at the neck here. If you want or need to pull the body piece onto another peg or down out of the way, you can. We're going to reach inside and get the top 2 bands within there. In my case, they are coming from the side closest to me. We'll bring those over. Go back in for the next two. And they're coming, I can see, from the right side, and then there are two left, and they should be going up and forward. Okay, I'm gonna loop up in the middle from the 5th peg. We're just gonna go up once, twice, 3 times, and you can go right to the top here if you like. So last set. And on either side, we want to get the bottom 2 skin tone. So push back everything but the bottom 2 and bring those carefully up and forward. It's very tight here. Push back for the bottom 2 skin tone. Push back for your bottom 2 yellow. Bottom 2 yellow. Oh, I got something else there. I felt a little more resistance than there should be, and I saw some gold coming up, so I knew I had to check that again. And then come in diagonally to the top. Once more there, well, you'll see the gold is kind of flopping out, but it's that's because we didn't sink it in with each of these. Otherwise, there shouldn't be anything hanging loose below. I'm going to the opposite side, going for my double skin, or my 2 skin tone under there. Next one, next 2 skin tone, yellows. Push back the tiara and the holding band, your last yellows, and then 2 yellows into the middle. And you can take 1 yellow band or 2 if you want to be extra careful. Get that ready on your couple of your fingers here. And then I'm going to take my hook, point the open part away, and it's going to go straight down through all the bands on the top center peg. I'll grab my yellow and keep some tension and slide it straight up. And then I want the open part facing upwards so that it's not going to slide off. And I can put my other side on and pull the further piece right over the top of the hook, and that's going to create a slip knot, which I can now put on a hook, my hand, or a C-clip. And we are ready to ease this off the loom. It looks like I got the right pieces. Something's coming loose, yeah, you want to catch it as fast as you can and either fix it or start relaying your pieces down. But hopefully your project is going smoothly over there, as mine generally seems to be here. Okay, oh, these are very big eyes with the bands. Now I'm going to turn it so that my eyes are more prominent, my jewel is showing, and my gold is at the front. And just even that out. Now you can see really briefly here, this is the difference for the hair. So with 1 hair chain and with the 2, it definitely does thicken it out more. So you can see that there, and you'll see it in the thumbnail as well. Maybe I'll do both in the thumbnail, I'm not sure. Okay, let's turn it to the back and put your hook under a couple of bands. Pull your securing band through, and you can put this onto a C-clip. And I'm going to be using a couple of C-clips here. If you want to try and get a lot onto 1 C-clip, you can do that by weaving bands closer. So if you've got a loose one in one place, you can kind of put it under a band and then bring that one closer, closer, closer. I'll show you that in a minute. So I've just stuck it under a skin tone, and that's going to keep this kind of low down there. I'll show you a trick really quickly here. If you feel like your tiara is sitting too high and you want it a little bit lower down, or if your band is stretching out, you can go through from the back to the front, grab a gold. This is totally optional, this part. This is just for effect. Slide it to the back. Reach through right above where you want that red to sit. And grab the gold and pull it through again. Okay. One piece goes through the other, and then you can put that on the C-clip, and that will just make it sit a little bit closer. So again, totally optional, but if you feel it's springing around a bit, that's something you can do there. Okay, and I feel like this is already coming loose, but I'm gonna, because I didn't secure it, but we're gonna leave it there. If you've got some bands that are a little looser than you'd like at the front, we can try and find those bands on the back side and give them a little tug until they're in tighter. This is just something that happens sometimes if your bands are a little stretched out. So I'll go under some bands, I'll grab my loose ones and pull them through, grab a loose one, pull it through, grab a loose one, and just bring it under. And then you can put that on a C-clip and that will tighten it up a bit. I'm gonna put a C-clip here. I'll show you, I'll try and do this quickly, how to make your little star there. So that is with gold bands, and I used 3, I believe. And okay, so we're gonna come in about here from the back to the front. Grab a band and pull it to the back. Now if you want to put this on a C-clip or something else to kind of keep it there, you can. I'm gonna secure this in the back on the C-clip that I have, but you could put a new one in if you need to. So it's on a C-clip in the back, it's coming out here in the front, and now we're going to come through about here, about there, and you can fiddle around till you get it where you want it, and grab that, and we'll pull it back to the back. So I'm turning this around again, here it is in the back. Now you can put it on another C-clip, you can put it on what I like to do sometimes, this is a little messy, but I can put it onto a band of any color I like and put that onto the C-clip, and that way it won't, or even make a slip knot and put that on. That way it won't stretch the body too tightly. So it's still kind of loose in there. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put the band through here and then again through there. So we're making a kind of an X. Okay, so my hook comes out there on the opposite side. I'm going to catch that gold and bring it through and keep a little bit in the front. I'll put this on the C-clip. You can grab a new C-clip if you feel like you need it, or weave it onto the bands that you're using already. See, and the C-clip already feels like it's getting busy, but there we go. So there it is. And we'll go through from the back to the front up. Where do we do it? About here. I'm trying to get it close to the same spot as on the other side. And pull it through to the back. Once more, you can put it on a new C-clip. You can kind of weave it in. I'm going to take this white band that I had here already. I'm sorry, this is a little hard to see. Trying my best here. Okay, so let me actually flip this around a little. That's that white band I put on so that I could, oh no, we did want it that way. The white band I put on for the other one so it wouldn't stretch it as much. I'm gonna grab that off the C-clip and pull that through. This is getting very complicated, so feel free to just stick it on a C-clip if that's what works for you. If this is something that's a little new to you, do what's working. Okay, and then there's going to be one more which is going to go up to bottom, and on this one you want to have a jewel. This is the top one, so you can use a band or a bead. I'll do the band thing again. You want it to be relatively tight so it doesn't slide around. So I'm going to take a green and go 1, 2, 3, 4 times. I could probably even do 5. Put it onto a gold. Oops. So slide that onto my gold. And I'm going to grab this from the bottom. Slide it to the back, put it on the C-clip or a new C-clip if I need, come through from the top, grab the other end, slide it to the back, and put it on a C-clip. You can, I managed to get all of mine onto this one. It's a little bit busy, but you'll again do what's working for you. You center that as best you can. So there is our star, and this is what we have right now. The last thing I'll show you, and I'm gonna try and do this in a fast way if I can, because this can take some time, is the cape. So these are all doubled. I'm gonna show you the same thing but using single bands. So for this cape, you're gonna use 2 bands every time I use the one. A single will be a little bit looser. It will use fewer bands, but it won't be as sturdy or thick. At any rate, we're gonna take, you would take 2 red bands. I'm gonna use one here just for the sake of demonstration. Top right, or top center to top right, 2 from the top right to the top left. And on each of these, you would come down 9 times, and you would use 2 bands at a time. I'm using the one so that I can show you the method with, you know, again, a little more speed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This will also give you something to compare it to, so if you are inclined to do the single, you could do it that way as well, I suppose. We're gonna do 9 times down each row. Normally for the thicker, I'm gonna risk repeating myself here a lot. For a thicker, more proper cape, you would want to have 2 at a time. This might also, I'm thinking, actually look a little bit longer with the single, just because it won't have as much tension pulling it close. Okay, and you would do single triangle bands, so 1 at a time. If you wanted it extra thick and tight, you could do 2 at a time, but I would normally do 1, whether I'm doing a chain of 1 each or 2 each on here. I would probably still stick to 1 band for my triangles. You don't really want the back to be so tight that it's that it can't be seen, because it's like, if it's too tight, then it's gonna all be hidden behind her, and you want to get a good view of it. Okay, and you can use 1 or 2 holding bands on the bottom, and I'm going to take this center piece and just pull it over there. And then I made an extension to make it wider, so single wrapped 1, 2, 3 times, and I did my extension with 2 bands at a time. Again, I'm going to show you this with single bands, like 1 at a time here, just so this goes a little bit faster. And it will also even out the effect of having singles in the middle. It's 3, 4, we're going to do 9 altogether. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And we place this on the top side peg. Turn it, stretch it, connect it. 1 out of each chain. I feel like that's 2. Let's try that again. Now if you, I'm saying this a little belatedly, but if you don't want a cape, you can jump right to the end of the video. I will be with you there soon though. Mind you, you've probably already figured that out and done so if you were going to. Okay, onto each one, and I'll take 1 little piece out of my last part and catch that over the bottom. So So if you were doing double, it would look exactly the same, but you would have 2 on each chain. Okay, 3, I'm going to do another chain of 9. If you're doing it thicker, you'll have 2 each. That's what I had on my original. For my demonstration here, I'm doing 1 on each chain. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, attached to the top side. Almost lost it there. And 1 out of each is going to go over here. And when we get to that last little, the last little blob, I'll take one of those. This is the very end of the chain. I'll take one of those and put it on the end, the bottommost peg. And then we just need to loop up and catch it at the top. So I'll start on the side this time. It's gotten a little twisted, so I'm going to pull down the bottom. If you were doing this like properly and you had 2 per peg, you would be going for 2 bands on the bottom. I only have the 1 here, so I'm reaching for my bottom one, bringing it forward. Next one, and we continue going all the way. Just push back your holding bands and extensions as you go. And when you get to the top, you'll loop this in diagonally and up until you get to the middle. The last one goes up and in. Opposite, opposite side, same thing. It's going to be a very loose and airy and stretchy kind of cape here, but that's okay. The point is to go over how you can make one and also give you a sense of how it differs doing the double or the single versus the single. And up to the middle. Okay, and then back down to the bottom middle, and we're going to loop straight up, and there shouldn't be anything in your way, and we'll go right to the top. So if you've done the double bands, you're getting 2 each time. I've done singles here for the sake of expedience, as I said, so 1 band each time. That was Zoltan in the background. That's my cat, one of my cats. Okay, once you're at the top, you can grab another red, put your hook through, grab your red and slide it up, other piece on, and create that slip knot again by pulling the first piece over the end of the hook. Keep that secure and remove the rest from your loom. And there are 2 basic ways to attach the cape that I know of here. One is you can take your loop and bring it over the head and over the neck. You might find that the red is showing up though. The other thing, which is what I did, is I turned to the back and I hooked it under and around my neck piece, or you could go through a couple of bands and bring it under, and then you can put it on a C-clip, or you can bring it back over itself there. That's probably going to be a little loose, but you know what, I'm going to go do the C-clip thing. Hold on. You could do that a couple of times, but I'm gonna just stick that on the C-clip. I have one here already, but I could get another one if I wanted. So I've just popped it on, and that should keep it reasonably tight. If you want to kind of weave it in to some of the bands so that it's closer, that would be another option. But let me put this flat down here for you to see and compare. Okay, so Shira is done, and yeah, I think that's everything we need there. I've got some other superhero videos on my channel and some of the Avenger and Marble guys, so I hope when you get a chance you'll check out some of my other videos. And I thank you for watching. Bye guys.